When it comes to the isolation period of what folks call your spiritual journey, it's one of the most significant pieces to the bigger puzzle. But it's like the almost the main key. And that period is the hardest period. It really is, because it's where you're facing everything. It's where you're going through the dark. It's where you don't have people to lean on. It's where the whole point of the isolation period is for the Most High wanting you to become so vulnerable that you fall completely into the trust and the faith. And you come face to face with everything. Meaning, you look in the mirror and you come face to face with who you are. You come face to face with your own demons. You come face to face with understanding your own duality. And then it's not even just that. It also comes down to bloodline. It also comes down to the collective. It also comes down to the bigger picture for humanity. You know, there's multiple aspects of what your energy and your frequency can do in that isolation period. And people don't talk about it enough on how painful it is. But you see, there's also a side that I don't see people talking about either. No matter how painful, how dark, and how ugly the isolation period of your quote-unquote spiritual journey is, and you know, I say quote-unquote spiritual journey because when you say you're spiritual, you're still putting yourself at a certain level, which is, you know, you're beyond that level. So it's like you're still putting a category on yourself in a certain way. You're more than spiritual. We're all spiritual. It's just a matter of who eyes are open enough to say you're spiritual. Everybody's having a spiritual experience, even if they don't even understand anything about spirituality. But when it comes to the isolation period, the hermit mode, the cutting everybody off, cutting anything off, cutting, you know, going to the extreme on so many different levels. The reason behind it all is for you to find your energy, is for you to understand to an extent that the Most High needs you to understand, so you can play your role the best you possibly can. And during that period, there's so many lessons that you need to learn that you have no idea until you actually learn them, until it's actually broken down. But you need to be in that isolation period to break it all down. You have to break it all down to rebuild it, to sum it all up. But what folks don't really talk about is getting out of that isolation period. The whole purpose of the isolation period obviously is for you. That's the main goal. But the goal behind that as well is for you to throw yourself back out there. Is for you to be able to go right back around environments that were not good for you before your isolation. Because why? You got to show how the Most High works, and that's through you. So after that isolation period, the whole point is to show what you just worked on, is for all your hard work to now be seen. And not only is it you, it's glorifying the Most High. Maybe, you know, you're supposed to go right back around the folks that weren't going down a good path that you may have been hanging around one day. There's so many significant ways of explaining, but the whole purpose of your hermit mode is to come out and be able to operate in whatever environment. Is to be able to not let it over the frequency, the energy, to not overpower you. It's for you to know the power within you to power over it. And for some folks, it takes a long time of isolation. But the enemy wants you to stay in isolation. There's only so much you can learn before you have to put it to the test. And how can you show off what you learn without putting yourself out there? Without putting yourself in not the best environment and changing that environment? Because you're walking, you're stepping in your power. You're embodying the light, no matter if you have to be in a dark situation. Just because you're spiritual doesn't mean you're only supposed to be around love and light. The whole purpose of going through that isolation period is for you to go to the dark places, wherever you're being called, and know how to operate in it, so you can send a message that doesn't need words. Because your energy does it. Your frequency does it. There's so many levels to the game. And the isolation period is the most painful period, I guess. I don't know. It's so deep on so many levels, but the isolation period is... man, if not the worst, the second worst. But the enemy will try to keep you there. And then will try to trick you. And if you feel like you're not ready, then you're not ready. But once you're 10 toes deep, instead of 9, 8, 7, because you're almost to the 10 toes deep, there comes a point where you got to throw yourself back out there and show off what you worked hard for. Because that's what it is during the isolation period. You're putting in work, even though you can't physically see it. And that's where it gets a little mind twisted. You're over here putting so much work into the spiritual. And the physical, you ain't seeing it. Especially while you're in an isolation period and you're literally letting go, going through all the emotions, all the motions. And you're releasing so much. And you're facing your demons. And you're doing all those things. But when it comes back to actually understanding the significance of it, even if you're going through it right now, it's the most powerful time. Just when you think you don't have any more strength or faith, that's when your isolation period will test you so hard and bring out the strength you didn't even know you had. But you can also get stuck. But if you remember the bigger purpose behind it all, because it's tough. It is really tough to come out of that isolation period, but people don't talk about it. But if you understood, you coming out of that is the breakthrough that the enemy doesn't want you to have. Because the moment you come out of it, that's when you are fully active. when it comes to being the tool for the Most High. But the Most High also needs you to go to places that He used to test you before, that He used to tempt you before. How do you know if you've even grown if you can't even put yourself in the old predicaments that you used to put yourself in and test yourself and overcome it? The Most High don't need you around folks that The Most High needs you around those folks that are in dark places, mentally, emotionally, because you're the tool. No matter how long your isolation period is, the most important part, secondary, thirdary, than the isolation is coming out of it. And the depths of this is so deep. I'm not really trying to get into it because I'm trying to stay on the fact of the whole purpose after your isolation period is to walk in confidence on what you just overcame and to show others how it's done. It's not meant for you to stay in the closet. But the reason why your energy and all those things can't be around folks during your isolation period is to remind you that you still got stuff to work on. But overcoming that, once you know you can be around those folks, instead of feeling like your energy is drained and that you just want to stay in the house and do this and do that, the whole point is to get past that and then broadcast it for the Most High. Peace and love.